Okay, today we're going to start creating our Aboriginal art by creating a template of a leaf. I have two different leaf styles you can choose from, and we can trace them onto our watercolor paper, and then we're going to go over those lines with Sharpie. Remember, when we're using Sharpie, we're going slow, we're not going fast, so that we have a nice dark black line. Especially on watercolor, it soaks up the ink a little bit more, so you need to go a little bit slower. Of course, the video is sped up, so it looks super fast. Alright, so now we have our leaf on the watercolor paper, and we are going to paint our leaf a bunch of different colors in the warm category. So I know we just talked about this, so remember, our warm colors are our reds, our oranges, our yellows, and our pinks. All different shades. You don't have to paint it like mine. I wanted to do some red, orange, lighter orange, pink, and yellow. So I did them in the section of the leaves. You want to stay in the lines the best that you can, because on the outside we're going to be painting it in cool colors. So again, we're staying with warm colors on the inside of the leaf. Now, I remember with watercolors, you have to use water. So I'm constantly dipping my brush back in the water, back in the paint, mixing it up, waking up the paint, bringing it back to the paper. If you don't, you won't get a nice bright color. Okay, so now my leaf is painted. So now I'm going to go rinse my brush, and I'm going to start with the cool colors. I'm going to use a couple different blues, and I'm going to use some purples. I want to keep dipping my brush back in the water, back in the paint, to get a nice, dark, beautiful color. It helps sometimes to add a little water to the paper where you're going to paint first. It's called wet on wet. So I dip my brush. Before I go to the paint, I go to my paper and make it wet. Then I dip my brush again and go back to the paint and then to my paper. It helps the paint move around and kind of flow a little better. Right here, I'm painting my paper wet first and then going back and getting some paint. It's called wet on wet technique with watercolor. Now here again, I'm painting my paper, making it wet, then I'm going back and getting more water and getting the color to mix it in. Because if you don't do this, then if you don't keep going back to the paint, you're going to lose the intensity of the color. And that's not what we want. Once you have the whole background painted and the leaf painted, we're ready to let it dry. Beautiful.